Good evening. Appreciate all you guys coming to get a follow-up from the incidents that have occurred in the village over the past couple weeks. So as you are aware, on March 14th, 2024, the Yellow Springs Police Department responded to a report of an assault at 611 South High Street. A single officer on duty that evening dispatched to the call along with Miami Township Fire and Rescue. While en route, the dispatch center relayed additional information to the responding unit that the victim had possibly suffered a gunshot wound. This information prompted the lone officer on duty to make a request for all additional units to respond to his location, also known as a Signal 99. When the officer arrived, the victim was found with a gunshot wound. The residents and all surrounding areas were cleared by responding officers and an investigation was initiated. Due to the severity of the crime, the substantial resources required to properly investigate this type of offense, I determined that the Bureau of Criminal Investigations would be requested to handle this case. In the hours that followed, BCI and the Yellow Springs Police Department engaged actively in speaking with residents and possible witnesses. Numerous interviews were conducted and extensive investigative efforts were performed. BCI investigators and Yellow Springs Police Department personnel worked over 20 straight hours on scene collecting evidence. These initial steps in the investigation took substantial time and resources, but were crucial in establishing how to proceed. The incident on March 14th, 2024 appeared as an isolated event, and it was determined at that time that no further threat to public safety existed. An initial statement was released to the public explaining the escalated police response and informing residents that an ongoing investigation existed. This is standard practice among law enforcement agencies and also came at the direction of BCI to ensure ample time was given to properly investigate. Investigators must balance several factors when releasing details of an ongoing investigation. The first is always public safety, and as noted, evidence at the time of the initial public statement did not indicate a greater risk to public safety. The second is the integrity of the investigation itself. On March 16th and 17th, BCI investigators, along with Yellow Springs Police Department, were in the process of establishing an investigative timeline to proceed and drafting a statement to further update the public. On March 17th, at approximately 6:15 p.m., the Yellow Springs Police Department received a 911 call referencing an individual now known as Jackson I. Blything approached the front door of a residence on West South College Street. Jackson attempted to contact the residents by ringing the doorbell of the home. Currently, Jackson is being held at the Greene County Jail on charges of attempted felonious assault, a third-degree felony, tampering with evidence, a third-degree felony, and possessing criminal tools, a fifth-degree felony. The state of Ohio is requesting a $1 million bond in this case, in addition to the charges of attempted felonious assault, tampering with evidence, and possession of criminal tools. The defendant is the person of interest in the fatal shooting of an elderly female in Yellow Springs on March 14th. Ohio BCI and the Yellow Springs Police Department are working collaboratively in the homicide case and the present case. The prosecutor's office believes a sufficient bond is necessary to protect public safety. The Yellow Springs Police Department and BCI responded swiftly and efficiently to the additional report on March 17th, identifying similarities in the two incidents almost immediately. After enough evidence was established to definitively identify Jackson I. Blything as a suspect in the homicide on March 14th, it was determined that a public alert would be disseminated out of an abundance of caution to ensure the public safety until Blything could be taken into custody. While this public notification was deemed necessary, it's also important to note that evidence in this case indicates that Blything is the person of interest in both incidents and no greater threat to the public at large exists. So I want to end this statement by saying, extending my appreciation to all of the local jurisdictions that assisted on the initial event on March 14th, as well as my deepest appreciation for the Ohio BCI, who is still actively working with us on the homicide investigation. And I'm happy to field questions. However, I do want to make it known that I will field questions related to the information I have provided, as this is still an ongoing investigation, and I cannot comment on any details that I have not released. So,
Chief, I know you talk about that line you've got to walk with investigatory public safety, but we have heard from several villagers they're concerned about the initial incident happening 4 days prior, This is the first time that more details have been released. What do you say to those concerns from some of the villagers here?
Absolutely. So I say concerns are heard, and I respect and appreciate that the community is concerned, but also that, as mentioned, I have to balance the integrity of the investigation, because while it's important to maintain public safety, and we felt that we had done so in that situation, it's equally as important to maintain the integrity of any investigation to ensure that justice is received for victims in this case.
I don't feel that if you had told us as villagers from the get-go, like the warning you gave us last night, that we should keep our doors locked, we should keep aware of anybody knocking at our doors and not to open the doors, I think we would have all felt a little safer. It was really sort of a brightening experience for the villagers, especially people like me who live alone.
Sure, absolutely. And you know what? Hindsight's 2020. If we were able to know what we would have known on Sunday,
Right.
I would have absolutely been able to give that notice. However, again, we believe that this was an isolated incident specific to what occurred on Thursday. So we did not believe there was a threat to public safety. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us the name of the lady that was shot and killed?
So just out of respect for the family, I'm not going to be releasing that information today during this statement.
When will we find out? You know?
So that'll be public record as soon as everything that is,
You know,
yes.
So the closure of the schools today, Chief, as well as that public alert in the all clear that went out last night, are those all three related to the search for, is it Blything?
Blything, yes. Bletthing, yes.
And that was all related to the search for him?
That's correct.
Okay. And he was taken into custody or arrested at what point, kind of late last night or into the...
I don't remember the exact timestamp. I want to say it was around 11 p.m.
This woman who he is accused of shooting and killing, was she known to him? What was the nature of, was this random? Was it targeted?
As I said, ongoing investigation, not something I can comment on.
And this attempted felonious assault charge, is this related to this apparent door knock he tried to make at the one house that you referenced?
Which house? I'm sorry.
He had approached you, the city had approached the second house.
Mm-hmm.
Is that attempted felonious assault related to him approaching this other house on over the weekend, or is that charge related to something else?
So the attempted felonious assault is related to the incident on March 17th. So that was the home I identified in my statement.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the incident on March 17th could have been avoided had you given proper warning to the public?
I feel like the incident on March 17th could have been avoided had we known the information we knew on March 17th, which obviously is not possible. So,
Was that a residence that was known to him that he approached on the 17th, or was this?
can't comment on that as part of the ongoing investigation.
Chief, can you, and I apologize if this was covered, I came in late.
Sure.
But can you clear up the timeline for me? Obviously, we had a big police presence on Thursday evening, but the BOLA was issued on Sunday. What happened to that police presence, and why was there nothing at all known about the suspect on Thursday? I guess I'm looking for a little bit more clarity on the distance between the police presence and the BOLA being issued.
So specifically to Sunday is what you're asking about, the incidents that occurred on Sunday. Yes, so great question. I can comment on that. So initially, first, what I'd like to say is we are always approaching every situation, not just in the village of Yellow Springs. I think I can speak for all law enforcement with the best possible outcome in mind, right? And so we were making efforts during that time frame to reach out to this individual to try to make contact to see if we could find a peaceful resolution, something that wouldn't escalate, something that would be, a more positive outcome and not run the risk of what happens when, someone feels like they're in trouble, right? Between that and the time it took to definitively establish that we felt there was a connection, because again, equally as important as making sure justice is served is that we are identifying the appropriate people. We would never want to link somebody to something when they weren't actively involved. So those two factors are what would contribute to the timing of the initial BOLO. And then subsequently, in the initial BOLO, which was put out on social media, we made it very clear that we wanted to have people refrain from calling our dispatch center, because our dispatchers are actually the ones that are responsible for pushing out those hyper reaches that come out to folks' phones. So I can say Village Manager Burns was actually down there trying to assist as best he can. He can speak to the fact that we probably took 200-300 phone calls from the public, all while they're trying to push out this hyper reach. So that delayed the push out of the hyper reach as well. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Yes.
So one of the direct family members involved with March 14th just asked me to ask you this question.
Sure.
Word for word, why wasn't there a manhunt on March 14th?
So manhunt is an interesting term. I will say what was done was we followed all proper procedures and protocols to investigate, and investigation was initiated. So I suppose my answer to that would be, in essence, there was. So.
Can you talk about why the schools were closed?
Just an abundance of caution. I mean, we work closely with our partners in the village, obviously, be it schools, businesses, et cetera. And it was just an opinion of both myself and VM Burns that if there was any question at all, that it would be safe to just go ahead and do that to allow us additional time to ensure that we took someone into custody.
So when that decision was made, you were still actively looking for
That's
the
correct.
suspect before he was arrested?
Why weren't the schools closed on Friday after the Thursday incident?
Again, reiterating, we did not feel that there was a greater threat to public safety. That incident, all evidence supported that incident was is isolated incident.
So you didn't know who it was, right? How exactly did you confirm?
So I can't answer that. It's part of the ongoing investigation. So.
I think you said, Chief, the charges are just for the attempted felonious assault at this point. Do you plan to, at some point, present additional charges in relation to the homicide going forward? Or ask prosecutors to have a grand jury review some of this for additional charges at this point? So
I think, obviously, the goal is to have someone held accountable for what happened on Thursday evening. So that's what I'll say about your question there.
When was the last time you guys had a homicide in the village? They're not very common here.
In our jurisdiction, so we obviously have 45387, which is Yellow Springs, and then we have our jurisdiction that Yellow Springs Police responds to. Not since my time here, so nothing over the last 6 years. The last one, I think, was on the outskirts of town, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't want to misspeak. So, yeah, Grinnell Road, perhaps. So.
Even if there wasn't a suspect, why was the public not informed that there was a homicide before Sunday?
Yes, so I believe I mentioned this in my statement. So I called in the assistance of BCI, and it's standard procedure for them and us, essentially, to say no details about any ongoing investigation are released until we have more definitive information to release. So, is there something?
Unless it affects public safety, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You have to release details if it affects public safety.
Well, we choose to release details if it affects public safety because that's our main priority. And as such, in this circumstance, we did not believe there was a greater risk to public safety.
Why didn't you believe that?
Can't answer that because it's part of the ongoing investigation. So.
Was the identity of the murderer known on Friday? I guess I'm harkening back to my first question, was the identity known on Friday, but he wasn't considered armed and dangerous until Sunday and then a separate incident? Is that more or less accurate?
That's not something I can answer, unfortunately. So.
And any time will you answer these questions?
So when the case is complete, everything will be public record. So once that time comes where everything is said and done and over with, everything will become part of public record. So absolutely.
So we can obviously see what's his last name again, Chief? I'm sorry.
Blything.
Blything.
It's Boy, Lincoln, Edward, Young, Tom, Henry, Ida, George.
So we can see what he is booked in the
Sure.
Green County Jail currently. Do you anticipate additional charges in this case moving forward?
We'll be able to comment on that at a future time. So.
And Chief, can we get your spelling of first and last name?
My first name is Paige, Paige. Last name is Burge, Burge. And I think that'll be the last questions that I have that I take. Oh,
Were there any
one more.
any other injuries between Thursday and Sunday in connection with this?
No, I can answer that one, no. All right, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.